no matter what we talk about today, I really think it's really going to boil down to what happens in free agency, and then free agency is going to determine what we actually pick in the actual draft moving forward, right?
Absolutely.
I always think free agencies, you're getting veterans in the league, and I think that's really Brandon Staley's job to identify the right people, and then moving forward, great, let's get depth, and that's called the draft, and let's get those guys in. All right, guys, we want to talk about the Combine today. Bull Bros, you know us. You know what?
Let's go!
Hey guys, we're going to talk about the Combine. We're going to talk about the defensive side of the ball, right? And you guys all know this, right? At the end of the day, I believe 100%. If you've seen any of my little vignettes, any of my little short videos on Reels and TikTok, whatever, we're all over those things. We are going to go defense heavy. I think not only in the draft, but also in free agency this year. Look, at the end of the day, we all know that we struggle defensively stopping the run specifically. So we're going to talk about it right in the Combine, who we're going to go after, right? So I don't know, maybe James, maybe we should pass off to you or Kyle. Who do you think we're going to go after right out of the gate on the defensive side of the ball, on the defensive side for the Combine?
Well,
who's standing out for you?
We talk a lot about it, and we always talk about how it's going to be whoever's the best available.
Yep.
It's going to be the biggest thing. Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley, they just whoever they have that is best on their board specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk to each other and be blue in the face, and day and night that we think this person's the best available, but they may have completely different opinions, and their opinions are the ones that matter, not ours as much. But hey. But I still like to talk about it. So, and truth is, actually, LT was actually just talking about this guy, Jordan Davis. He loves Jordan Davis as our choice. Like he was head over heels about that guy, on ESPN today. So I think it's a solid choice, 100%. We need to get someone in the middle of that freaking defensive line and just gobble up those that offensive line.
Yeah. Yo, man, I have to say this. Like, I kind of have a man crush on Jordan Davis. I ain't gonna lie to you. I mean, for real. I mean, that Jordan Davis ran faster than Patrick Mahomes, and he's what? 350 pounds or 340 pounds?
Yeah.
No, but look, I mean, that guy's amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
I actually think he should be our first pick. I hope he's there at 17. That's the guy I want from the Combine and from the draft flat out. I mean, we need a run stopper. We need a guy that can chase people down. And, that guy is a big dude, flat out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's crazy about him, though, being faster than Mahomes and thinking about how elusive Mahomes is. I mean, that's just a weird thought to think, wow, he's faster than Mahomes? But it was crazy, though, that this draft, and we've said it before, is we've had a lot of speed in this draft. 31 players under 4.4 speed. Now, quarterbacks, wide receivers, I mean, they were just fast. But it's weird to think about a 341, 6'6", 6'7", whatever it is, size for Jordan Davis, that he could run that fast. I mean, even to say, and I'm going to go to another Georgia guy, man. I'm just going to say them Georgia boys, man, they killed it, in this Combine. And what was cool, though, is I watched a lot of, the Georgia guys throughout the Combine, and they were so supportive to each other, and they all seemed like really, really good personalities, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I really was like, man, I kind of want to be able to get a lot of these Georgia dudes on our team. I think they would blend really well.
Yeah.
But one of the other Georgia guys on the defensive line, Devontae Wyatt, a little bit smaller of a guy, 6'3", 304, but he ran a 4.77.
Yeah.
That's another guy to think about. I don't personally, in my opinion, after the Jordan Davis hype, thinking, man, this guy is an absolute beast on the line. I don't know if he's going to make it to 17. I mean, you got.
He's got a lot of hype.
A lot of hype, and you got the Eagles with the 2 first-round picks right next to us, and I think that they do have
3 total
defensive line.
3 total. Yeah.
I mean, they're going to try to go after one of these guys, and it's probably going to be Jordan Davis, and because I think Jonathan Cox, I think, is that his name? For some reason it's slipping my mind. Jonathan Cox, he's basically starting to get older, and there was even talks about trading him off, and he's a big contract kind of guy, and so you got to start thinking he might be one of those guys. Jordan Davis might be that guy that kind of takes over that position for him. Sure. So not saying he won't be there, but I'm saying that Jordan Davis could be that young guy making that line a little bit stronger. So I would love to have him with the Chargers, of course, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then once again, free agency could change things around too. So who knows? But, just to kind of keep along the lines with another one of those Georgia guys, linebacker Trayvon Walker, he did pretty well too, 4.5 40. I mean, obviously Georgia guys got speed, and speed kills, and offensively and defensively, and I think that's why the Georgia defense was so good. There's so many fast guys on that line and that defense. I mean, it's incredible to see, and they really showed out that in the combine, and they all really did very, very well. Now Trayvon Walker is another first-round pick kind of guy. Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Where he's going to be at. So, what other guys did you guys kind of look at too? Any other linebackers or? Yeah, well, I mean, of course, I don't. Well, okay, there's two linebackers from Georgia that I actually do really like. I've talked about one already. Is Quay Walker. He was the captain of the defense over there. And that's in a lot of ways that's kind of why I really like him for our pick. But I don't think he's going to be a number one pick. Actually, in fact, the truth is that like all the combine or a lot of the boards online put him actually like maybe the 80th pick or so as far as like overall picks go. So he can be a potentially round 2 pick for us, and I think that would be pretty okay still. But there's also Dean or Nicolby Dean for Georgia as well. Also, absolute stud from Georgia. And to be honest, I really like linebackers a lot because I feel like they are the perfect position for the defense to be able to let the rest of the team, the defensive side, know what's going to happen. You know, because I'll be perfectly honest. I feel like I love Joey Bosa. And I love Derwin James, but I don't think those are really good captain positions because Bosa it's too close. Bosa's too close. He doesn't see the overall everything, and he can't really like turn around. Hey, they're doing this or what And then if Derwin James is all the way in the back and we're being loud because we're fans and stuff like that, he's not going to be able to like signal for everyone to turn around and tell him what's going on. I feel like. Yeah, so like that's why I really want us like to pick to get a linebacker person, to be the captain because he like Junior Seau did. He freaking commanded that whole team, and he knew where the ball was going every single time, and he was always there. So that's just my eyeballs in there. And truth is, both of those players that I saw could potentially be available for a first rounder. And second round. Yeah, and I agree with that in a lot of different ways because I mean I once again we need to work on a defensive line. Right. I mean that's very key for us. But at the same side, if you really look at our linebackers, I mean we got Kenneth Murray, Drew Tranquill. I mean Kaiser White. We'll see where he comes from if he sticks with us or not. Whatnot.
I hope he does.
Yeah, and I hope he does. And
Nwosu, we need to bring Nwosu back as well too.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. I agree. And so the thing is though, as our core linebackers, I'm kind of a little unsure about like, is there a guy that really could fit the gaps and really lead those guys? Like, and I even look at like, is it Devon I can't talk. Devon Lloyd from Utah.
Yeah.
He's a stud, and I really like watching his game tape. He's an aggressive guy, gets to the line, gets to the quarterback, attacks the rushers. The thing about him, he didn't really show out in the combine. Now, once again, I look at this very much as a grain of salt because I don't think that it's one of those things that like really game field means a lot more to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Running around in your underwear. Yeah. And so I mean, he basically ran around. He had a 4.66 40, which is really not that good. Kind of averaged in pretty much everything else there. It's not what they expected from a top 10 pick, basically.
Sure.
And where I'm kind of saying is I kind of fell in love watching with that guy's, tape. And I think that there's a chance he could fall the Chargers. Now, once again, my biggest concern is the Eagles because they have a couple picks before us. Mm-hmm. And I think the Eagles could be one of those teams that picks up a guy like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, I've heard the Broncos, too. Now, we'll see what happens with everything that happens with the rumors of Aaron Rodgers, too. So,
yeah. But I'll even say this, though, too. Quay Walker, he was talked to about 22 teams during Combine. Yeah. So there's a ton of interest in him as well. So it's like you just never know how the cards are going to fall, like, and during the actual draft time.
Yeah, and again, one thing you look at, right, every team, again, we all know this. Tom Telesco is going to pick best available.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one of the spots that I thought a lot about, too, with the Chargers, and again, think about what Brandon Staley did with the Rams. He had Jalen Ramsey, right? The thing that was awesome about Jalen Ramsey is he could lock down their number one guy, period.
Yeah.
Right? And is Asante Samuel Jr. the guy? He had some injuries last year. He's had some issues. There was some discussions on some of the Combine interviews with Telesco and also Brandon Staley that he might be better in the slot. So, look, maybe you get a guy like a Caitlyn Barnes, that guy was – I remember watching him. I remember seeing a couple of videos about that guy. That guy was like the second fastest time ever.
Yep.
4.23.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some sort of issue with the clock at the time too? They said that wasn't like exactly 4.23 or whatever. But
yeah,
I remember seeing some other things on that. So I didn't see any specific clarity on that. But I remember watching him play. So this goes back to your point, James, is that like legitimately the guy was solid. I saw him play probably 3 times this last year, and he was they didn't throw to him at all. They didn't throw that direction at all.
Yeah.
So he could be a good cornerback one. You probably could get him a little deeper in the draft, I would think. I mean, I don't know that he's going to go up because, I mean, people keep talking about Trent Mcduffie from Washington as being a better guy, and I'm like, I don't know, So you got to wonder, right, like what – I guess I'll say this, like on the defensive and the offensive side of the ball, the first pick that they pick, I think will set the tone for the entire draft.
Yep.
Again, I still think it's going to be a defensive player, right? Because – look, we were so bad on the defensive side of the ball last year. Like we could not stop people. I think we scored 29 points a game on average, but we gave up 27.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why was every game down to the wire every single time?
Yep.
Because we could not stop the other team.
Right.
Yep.
What I thought.
Yeah, and it's interesting thing that you bring up Caitlyn Barnes. So I kind of did a little bit of look on him, and obviously when you look at a guy that runs a 4.23 as a cornerback, I mean that's phenomenal. Now, there's a lot more to speed than basically just, at the quarterback's position. There's obviously be able to defend a guy, to be able to bat a pass down, to be able to have good height, to be able to slap a ball down or go up for the pick or, whatnot. Understand the defense and understand what the wide receiver is doing. It's interesting because I went on NFL.com and kind of just to see what they're saying about this player. And they actually said the prospect grade for him is a bottom of the roster of practice squad player.
That's crazy to me.
It's crazy because once again, like you're saying, if you've seen the guy in a game and you're like, man, he's killing it. But then they're saying like, he might be kind of a bottom roster practice squad guy. So who knows?
What are they talking about?
It's crazy to think about that. But I do think that you could even look at a Caitlyn Barnes guy just to be able to be special teams kind of dude too. Like, what if he could be a gunner? Yeah, he could be a gunner. He could be a punt returner. Because, 4.23 is fast.
Like blazing quick.
Yeah.
Blazing. If that guy could catch a punt and run the ball, see you later, dude. Like, and get some lanes, see you, bud. You're out. Like, that could be one of those things. Once again, Brandon Staley talked about it, too, at the Combine. We're always looking at cornerbacks, and we're always looking trying to find more depth in that position. Yeah. So he's one of those guys that we'll see where it goes. It's probably going to end up being the Raiders choosing him for their first pick because they love speed. But
I have a need for speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right.
But the one thing that's interesting about Trent Mcduffie, too, he even basically said, I would be a great fit for the Chargers, and they met with him too. So, so basically, Trent McDuffie is one of those guys. To me, a 5'11", 193 kind of puts me in that Asante Samuels kind of position where it's like, is that enough height? Can he really? Are we just going to get really short on the cornerback position? Because I mean, you really think we don't really. I mean, Michael Davis is our tallest corner there. Yeah. And then you got Derwin James in the back, who's pretty tall, obviously too. But now you start thinking about, man, we got a couple short guys back there. I mean, can they climb the ladder to be able to get the ball at that point? Like, I mean, Trent McDuffie looks good. I mean, he looks great for run support, good closing speed. I mean, one thing that pointed out, sorry, I was just chatting a little bit too heavy on this, but he only allowed 16 catches on 296 total plays in 2021.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's pretty crazy.
That's pretty good. They didn't throw to him.
That's good. Yeah.
And again, you know, with Brandon Staley's, again, I always go back to what the Rams did, because look, that's really the complete defense that Brandon Staley wants, right? You want a lockdown corner that can take away the number one, right? Is that really the guy, or is Asante Samuel Jr., is he really going to be the right guy too? I don't know, right? I think he had some injuries this last year, but I think from the cornerback position, you can never have enough cornerbacks, because cornerbacks can get hurt, right? They get beat up a lot.
They do,
right? They're running in there hitting running backs on corner routes and whatever. You know, Trent McDuffie, I remember watching him a few times. I kept thinking, man, this guy's pretty solid. He was good. And normally in college, if you got a good cornerback, they don't throw to him a whole lot. They just kind of say, we'll throw to the other guys, right? And that's fine. And that's just part of it, right? At the end of the day, you know. So, you know, I know there's also some discussions around, you know, getting some good guys in the free agency as well too. We may have some discussions around that too. But you know, it will really be interesting to see what happens in free agency, right? Again, no matter what we talk about today, I really think it's really going to boil down to what happens in free agency, and then free agency is going to determine what we actually pick in the actual draft moving forward, right?
Absolutely.
I always think agencies, you're getting veterans in the league, and I think that's really Brandon Staley's job to identify the right people, and then moving forward, great, let's get depth, and that's called the draft, and let's get those guys in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, like, if we keep Kaiser White and we keep Nuchana Nwasu, then we might not need an edge. We might not need another linebacker. I mean, we might need another one just for depth and stuff. But yeah, like, I mean, and truth is too is like we're more than likely not going to be keeping Linval Joseph. He's aging out, and and the same thing with Chris Harris. He's aging out as well. So I mean, I think that nose tackle and you know, cornerback is probably our first and foremost going to be likely choices, I think. So we'll see. And I was going to say this though too, is like, I mean, how many times has like a safety been picked and then just converted them to a cornerback? Because the truth is Kaiser White was a safety in college and he became a linebacker, and,
exactly right.
And he did amazing. So I don't see that not being an option as well. So, like, you know, like I said, a lot of different things can happen, and you know, the stars got to align a certain way in order for the 17th pick, because it's not it's kind of up in the air kind of pick, you know. And
I've always looked at the 17th pick, which last time we got Derwin James at that level. I mean, I look at the best player available, I mean, for whatever need that we need. So I mean, it's if a great wide receiver shows up, well, I mean, I could understand. If a great right tackle shows up, I could understand. And I see that really as a true position of need. So I mean, it's kind of a tough pick to be able to have, because you don't really kind of understand where you're going to be at and who's going to be available. But, you know, I think that statistically we've done pretty good of recent on first-round picks. And, I mean, I think that we've figured it out a little bit on where we need to be able to be at. And I think that Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco are going to do a great job of choosing the right guy for our needs. So it was interesting, because one guy that Chargers did meet with was Sauce Gardner, so some of that hot sauce. I mean, that guy's a stud, and I mean, a lot of people kind of talk about him. They're like, man, he's like a Derwin James, Jalen Ramsey guy. Like he's literally the same kind of thing. And nobody threw to him at all when he was on the field too, and he was just absolute stud. Like, but he's not going to get to the 17th pick. So it's kind of, I almost feel like it's irrelevant to talk about him. But that could put that Trent McDuffie guy potentially into our position if somebody else looks at Sauce, So either which way, it's interesting that the Chargers bet with him. I'm sure they probably love him, and they're probably like, man, wouldn't it be great to be able to have another Derwin James on the field on our team? Kind of thing.
It'd be incredible.
No joke, right?
That'd be so good.
Yeah. No joke. Yeah, I mean, DJ's such a stud, right? And you bring another guy up there again. You got to think about Brandon Staley's defense, right? He's got two safeties up top, right? So they're basically putting a shell on the entire deep pass. Sorry, you ain't gonna throw the ball on the right or left hand side. Period. It ain't gonna happen.
Yep.
And that's how it is, right? And so, no, I mean, it'll be very interesting to see. And again, I think we're all in agreement that we're gonna pretty much go defensive heavy on the draft. And most likely in free agency as well too. So I guess we can wrap up here real quick. Kyle, what's your thoughts? As far as defensive heavy, what do you think? First, second, third, fourth round pick. I mean, what do you think percentage wise are we going to do in the draft? Offense, defense?
I would say 75% is going towards defense, and then, well. I would say no. I would say maybe 2 out of 3. So 67% defense, and a little bit of offense. Running back, maybe wide receiver. Because truth is, bottom line on both sides, this is a very deep draft.
It is.
There's a lot of talent coming in on this year. I feel like, and hey, I mean, we haven't really talked about it, but special teams is also a need.
Yep.
So
Huge.
Matt Ariza, he was at the combine. He even ran a 40.
Yep.
Yeah. And did well.
Yeah, did good. I was like, oh man, all right.
Which is crazy. I mean, we don't expect him. I mean, if we had him on the Chargers, we don't expect him to go down and really make some tackles or anything like that. But the thing is, though, his legs showed out too in the combine, and I was going to bring that up as just a little bonus to this whole episode here.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
Beat me to the punch, Kyle.
I saw your notes again. I saw your notes. I cheated.
Yeah. But there's a lot of hype about Ariza, and I mean, if we could have a guy that could have a leg like that, I mean, I think his hang time was like 5.7 seconds or something ridiculous like that. Lord. And I mean. And it's much better than what we currently have, by the way.
And
100%. If you give basically your special team the latter part of 5 seconds to try to get to somebody, I mean, the return on your special teams is going to be very short. So I think that's there was a lot of hype once again. Who knows where he's going to be landing at? There was a lot of talk kind of in the 5th, 6th round with him. I don't know, man. Maybe somebody will go after him a little earlier, but it's not a bad thought to think about. I mean, Nate Koenig was one of those guys I think that we ended up drafting kind of early on as a kicker, which we all know that he was kind of not good in the right times or the most critical times. But I'm saying,
I'm thinking of a specific playoff game during the Jets. Boy, I wanted to.
I was there. I was
gonna burn my hat that I have signed by Nate Koenig. I swear to God. I'm gonna burn that hat. I'm done. Yeah. Well, and again, just my 2 cents on it too, right? Like, special teams is important. And I guess going back to what you said too, Kyle, as far as having more defensive heavy over offensive heavy, the cool thing is I really do believe that everything I've seen, usually defensive players play special teams better than offensive players.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Good point. Yeah.
Because they understand gaps. They understand filling gaps. They understand, managing what's going on in front of them a little bit differently than an offensive player specifically. So, you pick up some of these guys, right? I mean, maybe maybe this guy from Caitlyn Barnes from Baylor, right? Who's just fast as hell. Yeah. He's one of your guys who's going to go down there and hit some fool and make it happen. So I like that idea a lot more, right? Even if he's not a starting quarterback and we can keep him in the system and build him up, right?
Right.
I always look at the draft as depth. I do think that in free agency, it's always good to get some veterans and have these guys play underneath the veteran for a year or two.
Yeah.
Earn some knowledge. Hey, this is how you need to read defenses. Then this is how you need to read offenses, and get them where they need to be. Last year specifically, and here's my final thought. I always go back to that Texans game, and I'm like, how bad was our defense at that game?
Yeah.
It was mind-blowing how horrible we were in that game. And it showed one thing. We had zero depth on the defense.
Yeah.
Absolutely zero depth.
Right.
I remember watching the press conference afterwards when Brandon Staley said, with like the most straight face I've ever seen in my entire life, we did nothing right on defense.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing right.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, that was a very specific statement.
Yeah.
That nothing correct happened on defense.
Yeah.
Just goes to show you that we've got to fix our defense, and we need depth. You have to have depth in this league to be successful. You have to.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're not successful.
You know, and I think in that same conference, though, he also said we don't have a depth problem. I'm like,
yeah. And you're like, wait, how's that happen?
What?
Yeah. Well, and I think that even going back to that specific game, I think that game gave Davis Mills the opportunity to be the starting quarterback for the Texans because he lit us up. He looked awesome against us, and
he was amazing.
And I'll always point to that game too. If our starters are out, we look like garbage, and that's where we have 11 picks now to really try to build up some draft picks and some young guys that we could fill in those gaps. I mean, I keep going back to the point. I think Trayvon Campbell. Once again, I think for the Chargers, they always know. And I remember every single game, whoever Trayvon Campbell's on, they're going to pick on him all day.
And they're going to throw to his side every time.
Yep.
Just point to that guy and keep throwing it at him because he's not going to stop a thing. And, you know, he had a forced fumble or a fumble return for 60 yards against the Bengals and kind of things like that. But at the same side, he was burned constantly.
Yeah.
And so number 20 was getting toasted the whole time. And anyways, that basically made me think, well, we have to make sure we build up that depth, and that's where those 11 picks are going to come around. I would probably say, I mean, I personally would say 75% of those picks should be defense in some way or another. Like, we just have to do that. And I think biggest need on offense is probably going to end up being our right tackle. We have everything signed with Mike Williams. And I think we'll be fine at that point. Tight end might be another point of emphasis, but once again, defense is going to be major for us, and the depth is specifically our weakness for sure. And we were exposed heavily, and we have a lot of free agency in this team too. So there's a lot of people leaving. So I agree where you're at. It's going to be heavy on the draft for defense, and it's going to be exciting, man. That's coming up soon, and it's going to be interesting when the free agency hits too. So that could change a lot of plans.
Looking forward to it.
100%. And again, guys, I'd say like and sub. We're here for you. Go Chargers.
Let's go.
We got an amazing quarterback, Justin Herbert, and I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see what happens, and you will see plenty of content from us coming out here very shortly, guys. Go Bros.
Go Bros.
Go Bros. Let's go. We out.